Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another Magic Arena gameplay video. Today we're taking a look at Selesnya Tokens, a very powerful deck that takes advantage of the new keyword from Guilds of Ravnica, Convoke. So we're making a whole bunch of tokens and then using the Convoke mechanic to get stuff in play ahead of schedule. So let's take a look at our entire deck list, starting out with our 1-drops, where we have 2 copies of Legion's Landing, a legendary enchantment that makes a 1/1 vampire token with lifelink, and when we attack with 3 or more creatures, we get to transform Legion's Landing into a Danto, the first fort, which helps us make even more tokens. So that's a nice turn 1 play for the deck. Then at 2 mana, we've got 4 copies of Emmara, Soul of the Accord, as a 2 mana 2/2, that whenever she becomes tapped, we get to make a 1/1 lifelinking soldier token. And of course, Emmara works very nicely with the Convoke mechanic, since whenever we tap Emmara to convoke something out, we still get to make that token without risking Emmara in combat. Next up, we also have 4 copies of Saproling Migration, which is a very important card in the deck, since being able to start out with 2 tokens on turn 2 with the Migration means that all our Convoke cards become a lot better, and in the late game, if we can kick the Migration to make 4 tokens, that's even better. Then at 3 mana, we've got our 4 copies of History of Benalia. This is also the reason why the deck is slightly skewed towards having more white mana, and we're not playing cards like Llanowar Elves. So History lets us make a Knight token when it enters the battlefield. On our following turn, after our first draw step, we get to make an additional 2/2 Knight token with Vigilance, and on the third turn, we get to make our Knight tokens get +2/+1 until end of turn. Vigilance tokens also combine nicely with Convoke, since we can still attack with our Vigilance creature, and afterwards still tap it to convoke something into play. So just a very powerful and synergistic card in our deck. Then not really a 3-drop, but we also have a March of the Multitudes as a one-off. Very powerful card with Convoke, so we can tap any number of creatures we control in order to help cast the March of the Multitudes, and then we get to make X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. So a very powerful effect the more mana we have available. But we don't want too many copies, I don't think, since it does get clunky if we have too many in our opening hand. Then we get to our 4-drops, where we have 2 copies of Leonin Warleader, 4 mana for a 4/4 cat soldier that whenever it attacks, we get to make 2 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are also tapped and attacking. So just a very powerful card by itself, since it can get out of hand if it's not answered immediately, and also synergizes nicely with our deck as it generates more tokens. Next up, we also have the full 4 copies of Conclave Tribunal, 4 mana for an enchantment with Convoke, and when the Tribunal enters the battlefield, we can exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until the enchantment leaves the battlefield. So just a very powerful removal spell, and thanks to the Convoke mechanic, we can get it out on the cheap. And then we also have the full 4 copies of Spore Swarm, making 3 Saproling tokens at instant speed, which often allows us to double spell, since we can play the Spore Swarm, make some tokens, and then use those tokens to convoke something into play right away. And one of those powerful Convoke cards is Venerated Loxodon, 5 mana for a 4/4 Elephant Cleric with Convoke, and when the Loxodon enters the battlefield, we can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. So play pattern you'll often see is, for example, turn 2 Saproling Migration into turn 3 Venerated Loxodon, putting some counters on those Saproling tokens. Or late in the game, we can maybe play a Spore Swarm and then use those 3 tokens right away to convoke out a Venerated Loxodon on the cheap and put a whole bunch of counters on the Saprolings we just made. So just a very powerful card in general, and adding another 4/4 creature to the board is also very relevant. Then we also have 2 copies of Trostani Discordant. This is an actual 5-drop that doesn't have Convoke, but it does synergize very nicely in our deck as a 1/4 creature that gives our other creatures +1/+1, and when Trostani enters the battlefield, we also get to make 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink, which of course also get the +1/+1 bonus, so they're essentially 2/2 creatures with lifelink. And at the beginning of our end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own, which can be relevant against some of the Dimir cards that try to steal your creatures, like a Thief of Sanity effect, for example. Then we also have 2 copies of Divine Visitation, which can be a super powerful card in this deck. 5 mana enchantment that says, if 1 or more creature tokens would be created under our control, that many 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance are created instead. So instead of making 3 Saproling tokens with Spore Swarm, we're adding 12 power and toughness to the board, making 3 evasive 4/4 angels with flying and vigilance, which is quite an upgrade. So super powerful card. Of course, if you're out of token generators, then the Divine Visitation doesn't do a whole lot, but most of the cards in our deck make tokens, so that's going to make Divine Visitation a very powerful finisher. And then last but not least, we've got 1 copy of Camaraderie as a 6 mana sorcery that says you gain X life, draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures we control, and creatures we control also get +1/+1 until end of turn. So just a very powerful card draw engine in the deck if we've got a few tokens out. And then we also have the full 4 copies of Flower and Flourish, which I probably should have mentioned when discussing the 1-drops in the deck, since more often than not we're casting the Flower side for 1 mana to search our library for a basic forest or plains card and put it into our hand, and this is also the reason why we're only playing 22 lands, since Flower essentially adds 4 more lands to our deck, so it's like we're closer to playing 25-26 lands in our deck. And besides fixing our mana, Flower Flourish is also very powerful because of the Flourish side. So once we're in the late game and we have all the lands we need, then we can cast our Flourish side for 6 mana to give creatures we control +2/+2 until end of turn, which is a very powerful finisher. And then our mana base is very straightforward: 8 plains, 6 forests, 4 Sunpetal Groves, which come into play untapped if we control a forest or a plains, and 4 Temple Garden, which counts as both a forest and a plains, and we can pay 2 life to get it into play untapped. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand's not ideal, given a double Emmara, but she's likely to die, in which case we can play the second one on turn 3. Yeah, I think I'll keep. We're missing a few Convoke synergies, but Emmara by herself is still pretty powerful. Alright, Tribunal's a good draw. So let's see what we're up against. Mono green perhaps, but no early plays. Let's see if we'll get to attack with Emmara. Alright, Llanowar Elves on 3. So our opponent with a somewhat slow draw here. So we're just gonna get in for 2, hold on to the Tribunal. And then the question is whether we flower to get a land or keep it. We already have 5 lands, so we don't really need the extra one. And then we can probably just play tap Temple Garden. But if our opponent somehow had a pump spell, we could have still played another Emmara if we wanted to. I mean, we could still pay the 2 life and then convoke out the Tribunal to get rid of the Llanowar Elves, since next turn we want to be playing the Warleader. But given that the Tribunals are only removal spell currently, I don't really feel like wasting it on a Llanowar Elves. Alright, Goreclaw, a much more appealing target for it. And we even picked up a second copy. Yeah, I don't think I want to let my opponent untap with a Goreclaw. So what we'll do is probably just Tribunal paying the full 4 mana. Since we're 1 short of going Warleader into Tribunal. So let's just do this right now. But next turn we definitely have the potential of going Warleader and Tribunal in the same turn, which is quite strong. Ooh, Nullhide Ferox. It's gonna make that a little trickier, since that's a 6/6 with Hexproof unless we pay 2 mana to get rid of it. Which we could of course still do, but we can't really convoke that 2 mana we have to pay. So that limits how explosive this turn is going to be. So we don't quite have to get rid of the Nullhide Ferox this turn necessarily, since we can easily just chump block it. So instead we could just deploy the Warleader this turn, maybe cast Flower anyway to get an extra land, so we can more efficiently double spell. I'm thinking adding a Warleader is okay here. And then I'm unsure about the Flower. I think I'm gonna keep it in hand. Just feels like a bit of a waste to cast a Flower half when we're 1 mana away from 6. So for now we'll just chill. The Ferox is not too scary as a token deck, since it doesn't have trample. Opponent's got another one. So we can kind of just build up our board. I think I'm fine taking 6. And more Tribunals. Alright, so what we can do now is play History, then pay the 2 for Ferox, And then we can tap everything except for the Warleader to get rid of it. Seems like a plan. So we'll activate the ability. And then Tribunal, tapping everything except for Warleader. And sneak in an attack with our Warleader. And if we draw land for Flourish, the game's gonna be over. But even if we don't, the game's pretty much over. And Gigantosaurus doesn't line up very well here. Also doesn't have Trample. Yeah, the scariest cards from mono green for the tokens deck are cards like Steelleaf Champion that are more difficult to block. As it turns out, we did draw the land, so we're gonna end the game with a Flourish. Sweet. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand's looking a little clunky. Triple 5-drop, and these are actual 5-drops that don't have Convoke. So I don't think we can really keep, even though we do have Emmara if we draw lands. Tribunal on 3. The rest of our hand's just a tiny bit too slow. Alright, this one I can get behind. And do we want a Warleader? I think we do. Yeah, so our plan's gonna be to flower for planes, turn 2, do the same, then History on 3, Warleader on 4. And we have the potential of playing Tribunal as well at some point. Opponent with a turn 1 Goblin Banneret. So they could be a very aggressive red deck. Alright, looks like they're Boros, so red-white, and a Stalwart. Alright, so next turn they can mentor with the Stalwart onto the Banneret, or if they want to pump the Banneret, they can mentor onto the Stalwart. Get another planes. So our opponent definitely with a good start. Let's see if we can come back. Alright, they're gonna pump the Bannerets to mentor onto the Stalwart, make it into a 3/3 first strike, which is gonna line up quite well against our 2/2 Knight tokens. We're definitely blocking the Banneret if we get the chance, but we might not get the chance if they have something like a shock. There's land 4 into Heroic Reinforcements. Alright, that's a scary one too. So now the Stalwart can mentor onto the Banneret and we can no longer profitably block it. So that's an issue. So are we trading our Vigilance token for a 2/2? So we're probably not winning this game. So how are we potentially still coming back? Let's say we trade for a token, take 9 down to 4. And next turn Spore Swarm, still not great. Yeah, I think we still have to prevent the 2 damage here. And chumping doesn't seem great. Alright, on the bright side we can double spell here by going Spore Swarm into Tribunal. Problem with Spore Swarm into Tribunal, of course, is that we're still dead on board, since the opponent has 4 regardless. So probably just have to hang back and try to block with our Spore Swarm, since I don't think playing Warleader is gonna work out great here. And another Heroic Reinforcements. Yeah, that's quite a draw. We were just a little bit too slow this game, and our opponent had a very good draw. So even if we make 3 tokens, I mean, I guess we're technically not dead, but we're just so far behind. Pretty much have to chum block with everything. Yeah, this is pretty ugly, but don't really have a choice. And March of the Multitudes is not gonna save us. Well, I guess we're technically not dead once again, since we can just chump all 3 creatures if they don't mentor onto the 1/1, we're still alive. But I imagine our opponent's probably gonna mentor onto the 1/1 token. And then we'll be dead. Opponent might be playing around Settle the Wreckage, which could work out to our advantage. But we're still in chump block mode here, so doesn't really help our cause too much. So we're still alive. Did draw the land. But yeah, now we're definitely dead. Can definitely represent another Settled Wreckage, but our opponent's gonna send in at least some creatures. I guess we can say go again. And then if they play around Settle, we can march for 2 and maybe survive, but I doubt it. Alright. Opponent's over it. They played around Settle once, that's more than enough. Alright. So yeah, March for 2 is not going to save us here. GG's. Alright, we're on the play, and this hand's looking great. Flower on turn 1 for Plains, turn 2 Emmara, turn 3 Tribunal, turn 4 Warleader. Alright, is it Guildgate? So some form of control. And a Meandering River, so our opponent on a Jeskai deck. So let's hope they don't have a shock here for Emmara. They might just be holding an opt they want to play end of turn. Alright, we have drawn quite a few lands in the meantime, so hopefully that doesn't continue. Just play a tap Temple Garden and say go. So Tribunal can answer a potential Planeswalker like a Teferi. So it's gonna be pretty important whether or not the Warleader sticks around or not. But I don't have very high confidence. So our plan is very much to attack with Emmara, hope the opponent taps out so we can sneak in the Warleader. Alright, opponent's got all their mana online. So let's get in there. And a seal away on Emmara, alright. Well, now at least we get the chance to resolve the Warleader. And we can get rid of seal away at some point with Tribunal as well. So that worked out pretty well. Seal away, of course, only exiling tapped creatures, so either the opponent had to do it in their turn, or they had to wait until Emmara attacked once again. And another Warleader, excellent draw too. So let's attack, see what happens. Don't think we'll be playing the other Warleader if the first one sticks around, since then we're just walking into something like a Cleansing Nova, wiping the board. But if they kill the first Warleader, let's say with another seal away, then we'll reconsider our options. Alright, that worked. Yeah, I don't think we're overextending here. Let's play a land and say go. Opponent's at 9. There's no real reason to commit anything else to the board. Land 5 comes into play tapped, so Cleansing Nova not an option. They could have a Settle the Wreckage, I suppose. Instead it's an Ixalan's Binding on the Warleader. Alright, so this turn we can go History plus Tribunal. That seems good. So we'll have to leave 1 token back in order to do that. Oh, I guess we still had a land drop to play, so actually we didn't have to leave a token back. My bad. So yeah, we could have attacked for 1 more, put the opponent to 5 here, actually. So if they don't have a Cleansing Nova, we just have to watch out for a Settle the Wreckage. It's gonna be a Lyra Dawnbringer instead, alright. Oh, that's somewhat of an issue. Oh, that's too bad, so change of plan. We're just gonna try and go wide and try to get past Lyra in 1 big attack. Opponent didn't seem to have the sweeper last turn, so I assume they just don't have it. Otherwise they would have put themselves dead to another Tribunal on Lyra. So yeah, if they had a 5 mana sweeper like Cleansing Nova, they would have used it last turn. They could still have a Settle the Wreckage, so that's the main concern here, I think. Opponent says go. And we get our History of Benalia triggers. Alright, so now we have to figure out how much we can afford to play around Settle, or if we just have to send everyone. So if we send everyone, our opponent's very likely just dead. Let's say we only send 1 Warleader. Opponent blocks it, takes 4, 12, 16. Yeah, so we don't have to send both Warleaders here. It's definitely a bit of overkill. So let's go to combat, see what happens. Alright, opponent lets us attack. So what about not sending any Warleaders? But with their opponent having 5 cards in hand, they could easily just have a single spot removal spell, which would keep them alive. So I think we send everyone except for 1 Warleader. Play a little bit around Settle, leave something back in case they do have it. But we also want to make it so if they don't have it, we make sure to kill them here. Which this attack probably does. They could of course also let first strike damage happen first and then Settle. Alright, it's just a seal away. Alright, they might survive if they have another lightning strike type effect. So that 1 point we missed out on, that 1 turn where we convoked, ends up being relevant. So had we attacked with Warleader, of course, we would have gotten there. Attack with Lyra. Opponent up to 6. Do they have a sweeper now? Yep, Cleansing Nova. Alright, I mean, we play on, and March of the Multitude's an excellent draw. Alright, let's pay 2. So now we probably just want to main phase the March, is my guess. Play around a counterspell. Probably more likely than another Cleansing Nova. Hope they don't have a second Lyra. It's gonna be a Ral. Alright.
I've flown on Gale Force winds. Meeting you.
And they're just gonna shoot down a token. And alright, Flourish should end the game here. Sweet. Alright, so it took us a little bit longer than it had to because of that 1 missed point, but I guess it made the game more interesting. So on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, and yeah, I can get behind this. We do need a third land, but on the draw we're pretty likely to get there. Turn 1 Banneret, so an aggressive red deck. Let's play a tap Temple Garden. Emmara's probably gonna die, so even if we miss a land we might be able to play a second Emmara. Alright, opponent doesn't have a turn 2 play, so they're just pumping the Banneret to get in for 3. Land is excellent. Alright. So things are looking up. Let's see if Emmara eats a burn spell here. Alright, they're just sending the Banneret for 3. I'll take it. And we get to untap. Awesome. So let's get in for 2. And then play History. And the opponent's already going to be pretty far behind. And with triple History, we can definitely rewrite the books. And if we draw land, we can even go Spore Swarm into Loxodon in the same turn, which is quite a blowout. Alright, Boros Challenger. Pretty decent blocker versus our 2/2 Night tokens. Alright. No untapped land, unfortunately. Otherwise the game probably would have been over, but we'll just be happy playing another History here. Is it better than playing a Loxodon? I guess we can do both. Why choose when you can do both? And that's gonna pump our squad, add a 4/4 to the board, make an extra 1/1 lifelinker. And next turn our knights are gonna get in there for 5 each. So not a bad turn 4. Swiftblade Vindicator. It's a nice target for Mentor. And our opponent's getting in there. And what are we blocking? Suppose we block the Challenger. If they have the +2/+2 pump spell, I guess we wouldn't trade, but if we block the Banneret, they can just use the +2 ability on the Banneret itself. Probably doesn't matter too much, to be honest, but this seems fine to me. So let's see if they have the split card here that can give +2/+2. Or maybe a Lightning Strike to finish off the Loxodon, but that would be great too. I mean, realistically our opponent's dead next turn. Could have also just taken the damage to keep our Loxodon around guaranteed. And yep, there's Integrity from Integrity plus Intervention. So giving the creature +2/+2. But now our opponent's tapped out. They only have a Vindicator back. So pretty easy attack with everyone. For opponent blocks here, they're dead, so they can't block the 1/1 token. Yeah, let's just send. I guess they could still have a shock. But I imagine they would have used it already by now. Alright, our opponent has another Integrity. But that's not gonna do it here. So yeah, they should have blocked the Knight then, I guess. Alright, sweet. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, and this hand looks good to me. Turn to Emmara into History and a Loxodon. Up against another red-white deck, this time with Tilonali's Summoner. Alright. Fair enough. So I guess they might be combining Tilonali's Summoner with the same 5-mana enchantment that we have as well. Opponent misses a land drop. It's not gonna be good for them. Let's get in. And play History. And next turn we can go Spore Swarm into Loxodon, which is pretty spicy. Our opponent does hit land 3 and a Legion Warboss. Another token maker. But the 1/1 had to attack there, so had to suicide into the Knight token. Alright, so let's see here. Which creatures are attacking? I mean, the Vigilance one seems like a no-brainer. And then I guess Emmara can get in there as well. I'm okay with the trades given that we have a second copy. And then we can go Spore Swarm and still tap plenty of stuff. Alright. Opponent takes it. Spore Swarm into Loxodon. And what are we tapping? I guess just making our 1/1s into 2/2s is probably better. And yeah, that's not a bad turn 4. I don't think our opponent's coming back from this unless they have some sort of sweeper effect like a Settle the Wreckage or... Alright, they're just gonna make some more tokens here with Sworn Companions. 1/1 token gets in there. Guess we'll block it with Loxodon in case they can give it +2/+2 somehow. Ooh, and there's the Divine Visitation. So I think that's the card our opponent's also playing. But yeah, it's not gonna be necessary this game. Alright, I wanna thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this gameplay, and as always, have a nice day. I also wanna thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.